Hey hockey athletes, Coach Garner here from hockeytraining.com. In this video, I want to talk about some important factors that you need to have in your life if you want to have a long, successful, happy, and passionate career in the sport of hockey, whether at the professional level or at the amateur level. The hockey athletes who last the longest in this game and who get the most fulfillment out of the process are the hockey athletes who are guided by their inner compass. Their inner compass is what's doing the decision making in their life. It's what's impacting itself upon the environment, because the hockey athletes who tie too much of their happiness to external factors such as certain body composition results, certain trophies, certain recognition, certain anything. When you put the keys to your happiness in the pocket of external validating markers, you're making a huge mistake. Fulfillment comes first. That will ultimately lead to the external stuff and the physical stuff and your sport performance taking care of itself. You don't need to focus on all of those external factors all the time. When you focus on your inner compass in comparison to external factors, you are tying your passion to reason and you're not tying your passion to emotion. Those are two very different things, and one can be pretty dangerous, and I've seen it happen before. So you have to ask yourself, are you constantly thinking about external factors? And are you doing this because it makes you happy anymore? I know that sounds like a pretty deep question, but as a coach, I've worked with thousands of athletes. So you have to listen and stick with me here, because I've seen people get into training because they love the results from it. I've seen people get into nutrition because they loved how it made them feel and look. I've seen people get into hockey because they loved the frickin' sport. But over time, when you start tying your passion to external validation markers, it starts not being fun anymore. You might not like your training program like you used to when you first got into this. You might not like your next meal. You might hate the foods that some guru said that you had to eat because whatever reason. You might get the call that we got ice time at 10 p.m. Are you in, man? And you just went, oh, no. Whereas before, you would have been on that thing like white on rice. It would have absolutely happened. That can happen because you start tiring out your soul, you start tiring out your passion, you start tiring out your love for the training, nutrition, and hockey that you once had. If you exhaust those reserves, then you've exhausted those reserves because you lived your life from the outside in as opposed to living your life from the inside out. There's such a thing that I call loss from gain, where you actually may gain external validation through trophies, results, and certain things. But it was actually a net loss towards your passion because it exhausted you and it completely killed your love for the game, your love for training, and your love for nutrition. This can't happen. That's a loss from gain. The hardest thing to deal with is yourself after you've achieved your goal. I have seen this before, and people would be like, well, what are you talking about? Doesn't your goal make you happy? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe you're tying it to recognition and not to something that you actually wanted to accomplish. The worst thing in the world is if you've trained for 4 years to get to the next Olympics, and you've trained your butt off every single day, and then you got the gold medal, and then you still got to deal with you the next morning, because it didn't actually make you happy. This is the difference between living through your inner compass or tying validation towards external markers. You, listening to you right now, you have to listen to yourself and tie everything that you want to do to what's actually going to make you happy, because achievement will only ever be real when it comes from fulfillment. And fulfillment comes from the process. Let me repeat that again. Achievement comes from fulfillment, and fulfillment comes from the process. Achievement, therefore, is something intrinsic and is something you're doing right now. That's how this all ties in together. Achievement comes from inside, and what's coming from inside is coming from the current process of your training, nutrition, and hockey today. Not the trophy, not the recognition, not the post on social media, not any of that stuff. That shouldn't matter. The real hockey athlete who loves the game lives from the inside out because he loves what he's doing right here and right now to get the job done. Think about a UFC fighter, for example. Do you think if you gave a UFC fighter a world title that he would be fulfilled from that? That he'd be happy if you just handed it to him? No. The UFC fighter wants the title of the baddest man on the planet. He doesn't want the actual hardware, the title. That doesn't mean anything. That is a symbol of fulfillment. It is not the fulfillment. So, what are we talking about here? Make sure you love the process and use that as motivation. Don't motivate yourself by external factors because you are motivated from the inside out, and the external factors are going to come along with that. Think about it, and thanks for watching.